Sales National Football Show. I wondered growing up if Maas was a Steeler fan or if he was an Eagle fan when he grew up. Now, my cousin found Maas on a park bench somewhere in Oakland, PA. That's what he always said about Bill. He said, you know where I found him, right? He was in like a fedora, and he was sleeping on a park bench there. And somehow he ended up at Pitt, and he ended up being an All-American and one of the top draft picks, Defensive Rookie of the Year. So, yeah, my boy Pazzulli found him, and there he was. I said, what'd you say when you found him? He goes, I need a home. So they put him at Pitt. Now, I'm going to ask him, I don't know, was he a Steeler or Eagle fan? So, ambassador of the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the really great Chiefs of all time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, how great is this? I think Bill's either 7th or 8th in sacks. And when you got Derek Thomas at the top of that list there, and you've got Bobby Bell in that room of guys who've had the greatest sacks in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs, Bill's in the top 10. Defensive Rookie of the Year, also with the Kansas City Chiefs, a former Pro Bowler himself. Got the pulse of the team here. Our friend Bill Maas, former Pitt Panther and Kansas City Chief, joins us now. How you doing, brother?
Big Sills, what's going on? You know, Pazzulli, he had that saying about everybody I ever met. You know, all the people he knew, he had that same saying. Oh, I found him on a park bench. And actually, I think we all found him there.
I know this, man. Bob Bukowski was like, hey, man, I mean, you know, Pazzulli found me too. He goes, no, he didn't. He says, like you said, even Fralick was saying that shit too. That he would say that. Bill, growing up, were you a Steeler fan or Eagle fan?
Yeah, so Eagles, man. Yeah, Philly. I grew up, and it was big. I remember my rookie year was the first year they went. I mean, my freshman year was the first year that they went to the Super Bowl, and we came back from the bowl game, the Gator Bowl, and all the guys from Philly went home to watch the Eagles. Hopefully, we were going to a parade, right? But it didn't happen. They got skunked by the Raiders, and yeah, it was a big deal. But you know, going to Pittsburgh at the time, when they recruited me, they had won their 4th Super Bowl then, and in the '79 season. So that was a big deal, going to the other end of the state and seeing how big football was in Western Pennsylvania.
Boy, I'll tell you too, Bill, during the time Marino was there, I believe at Penn Hills, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he? Or was he at the Catholic school?
Central Catholic, yeah.
He was at Central Catholic, that's right. And all you guys, man, I mean, why did you guys, real quick before we move on, why did all you guys stay? That were all those PA guys. I mean, all you guys pretty much stayed that New England area too. Pazzulli's a Connecticut guy. He didn't want to really go anywhere else, but it just seemed that you guys had so much talent, man. I mean, you were Miami before Miami with all those guys that you had with Hugh Green and Ricky and all them guys. Why did you guys want to stay home?
You know, it had a lot to do, I think, with just the culture there that Jackie Sherrill and Johnny Majors brought to the university. I mean, they had a knack about recruiting, that they were able to go out there and get the kids that were, you know, put a fence around put a border around the state of Pennsylvania and don't let them go.
Yeah.
And that was kind of their mentality. So they went out and they tried to make sure that they kept all their homegrown right there. Now, you know, they got the East Coast, they went up and down, and they had some pockets down in Florida and Mississippi. And that's where, you know, they found Hugh Green and Ricky Jackson. So, yeah, it was all about the recruiting aspect of it for sure.
Bill, you know, talking about parades, you guys are used to them now here. I mean, are they talking about the three-peat, the Chiefs, or they just focused on this 60 minutes in 12 days?
You know, it's funny. When they won the Super Bowl last year and they went to the parade, it became a thing. That three-peat became a thing, and it's been on the agenda. Now, they know the way to go about it because they've done it so many times now, and you've seen them go through the regular season, and there's so much to be critical about as a team. But to them, that's just you know, an obstacle in the way of what they got to do. They've got to take care and get through the season. And the postseason hits, and you see how they start playing. And so, yeah, it's a thing. It's for real. I mean, it's something that's been etched in stone. That's what they want to do.
You know, Bill, I look at the numbers this year. I mean, mediocre passing, the running attack. I mean, scoring. I mean, I think they're pretty good on third down. I mean, outside of that, it's been more the better numbers are on the defensive side of the football. But you guys give away the Denver game. I mean, really, it's a one-loss football team. Well, why, in your opinion, is the coach and the quarterback just that much of an X factor when it comes to winning games? Because, look, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect here, Bill, but a lot of Jimmys and Joes on that offensive side of the football, and you got Travis Kelce on the back nine now. You got your O-liners. No doubt they had to move Tooney out to the tackle spot, so they kind of like limited there a little bit. You've got Creed Humphrey, who's a great football player, but, man, there's just not a lot of superstars, but it's a great team. Explain it to me.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's been trying to explain it, and everybody sees it the same way you do. You know, all the football experts and all the people that play the game and bring it in the pros, they look at it and they say, "Wow, how? And how is this occurring with the people that are there in place?" And you know, they find ways. I think offensively they're ranked 16th. This is by far the lowest their ranking that they've ever had since Andy and Mahomes have been together. But think about this, Sills. This is unbelievable. Since Patrick Mahomes became the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, his worst season was his first season. They lost the AFC Championship game in overtime. That's his worst season thus far. Can you? I mean,
No.
So you know, there's so many things that you can look at and say, nope, they're not good enough. Nope, they're not. There's so many teams that have played, that have come in, that are a better roster, that are a better offense or defense across the board than the Chiefs, but they play complementary football when they need to, and they find a way to pull it out.
Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you had to play 60 minutes and everything was equal, would you take Brady or Mahomes in a Super Bowl?
Mahomes. I've never seen a guy that sees the field the way he sees the field while it's live, while it's happening. You know, Tom was really good at the things he did, but look at the aspects that Mahomes brings to the table, other than just as a pocket passer. Look at all the things he's done that has changed the way the quarterback position is being played, and it changes the way that, you know, quite frankly, the way that general managers are now evaluating college quarterbacks. You know, they have to meet that standard of being able to do more things than they were during the era of the Tom Brady era. So, yeah, I think he's really changed the position as a whole. And like I said, the kid, you can't bet against him. And like this Philadelphia game, look at the Philadelphia team from top to bottom, better roster, right? Unbelievable players.
They were in 22 too.
Yeah. And here's the deal. You know, both those times the Philadelphia Eagles came in riding real high. They beat the San Francisco 49ers back then by, I think it was 33-7 in the NFC Championship game. Nobody thought that was going to happen because the 49ers were playing such good football. Philadelphia dismantled them. Nobody saw what was coming when that shutout against the Commanders. Nobody saw that coming. They feel good about themselves. But can they play and can they perform when there's a pressure-filled moment on every play that counts? I wouldn't bet on that. I wouldn't bet on that because it's going to come down to the full 60 minutes in this game.
You think that's what's been the difference in the last two Super Bowls between the Eagles and the 49ers? That there was one moment, the scoop where Jalen fumbled, or like last year with Purdy making a mistake and then Jones getting the sack that kind of turned the tide to put it into overtime and them to win. In a game like that, for you, it's those critical moments because every yard, every inch matters and every sequence of play matters. You're just not sold that someone can match that guy and maybe even that coach for 60 minutes in that ball game.
Yeah, not when the pressure's up and every decision you make counts. Not whenever play you call. Spags is the same way. I mean, he's got that mentality. When that pressure is turned up and every decision counts, and then you're faced with different circumstances, they're ready to respond. They've seen it. They've been down there. This is the largest 17 games in a row, historic, one-score games they've won, all of them. Nobody's done that in the history of the NFL before. This is the longest streak ever. A one-score game for 17 in a row. So they're used to that circumstance, and they're when that turns up, it doesn't bother them. They're like, they know what to do.
What has been different in your mind, Bill, covering the league the way you've covered it all the years, from Andy Reid in Philadelphia and him now in Kansas City? Can it just be really the difference between McNabb and Mahomes? Is that really just the difference? Is Andy the same guy, in your opinion, you saw in Philadelphia to where he is now? Or do you think he's calmer now? Do you think he's more trusting maybe of his quarterback? There's less guardrails, because the one thing that's synonymous with both teams, he never believed in wide receivers in Philly outside of T.O. in '04. Okay. He believes in a big time tight end, which he had there in Philadelphia. He believes it obviously in Kansas City. I wouldn't be shocked if they go out and find another big time after Travis is done with what he does there. So it looks like the same shit. Spags was on his coaching staff early on too in '04, '03 when he was there with John Harbaugh. What's the difference in your mind? Philadelphia Andy Reid, Kansas City Andy Reid.
I think anytime you become a first time head coach, you learn a lot. I mean, I look at Dan Quinn. I mean, I think he learned a lot his first go around in Atlanta to this time around up in Washington. And I think Andy, although he had a lot of success in Philadelphia, going to a Super Bowl and NFC Championship games and whatnot, were there things that he could have done different? Yeah. And once you're over that top, once as a head coach, once you cross the line of enough wins and enough respect that it doesn't matter the age of the player coming in, that you've got their respect. And Andy's been able to do that. And the second go around here in Kansas City with Alex Smith coming in and winning right out of the gates. He's been in the playoffs ever since he got here, right? 2013. And then getting Patrick Mahomes and building the team the way he wants and letting him learn how to be a professional under Alex. All those things together combined have made this come together and what it is. You don't see the turnover either with this older coaching staff. Dave Tobe isn't going anywhere. Spags isn't going anywhere. Their names get brought up all the time. They're paid extremely well. They're comfortable with who they are and what they're doing. And so it's not a young coaching staff where all the other coordinators and assistant coaches are looking to get promoted and get their own gig going. It's intact. They've been preaching the same thing for 8 years here, right? And so that carries a lot of weight too. So it's a combination of a lot of things there, Sills, but Andy and Pat together have just been the perfect storm.
You got to look at what Barkley has done, and I'll tell you something. Bill, I've seen great running backs before. Now I really believe that the New York Giants failed him in New York by not giving him the old line that they have in Philly, obviously. The coaching and the support around him, he has just been sensational. In your opinion, is that really the engine that they have to shut down if Kansas City's going to win this game? Because, Bill, I've never seen anything like a guy just take games over, where you watch a guy with an arm tackle, you're like, if that guy does an arm tackle and Billy hits his head on the goalpost, I mean,
yeah,
he's had such a season. It's been remarkable. Is that the key to this game?
I think the combination of the two together, I think with Jalen too. Jalen's been a better quarterback with his play. He doesn't have to be the Josh Allen. You saw how Jackson in Baltimore got better with Derrick Henry. So the combination of the two of them is lethal. There's no doubt. And as good as their offense is with that offensive line and the running game and the quarterback, I'm not so sure if their defensive front isn't that good as well. I mean, those front four, Dan. I mean, Chiefs are going to have a tough time battling those guys. When you're talking about Sweat and Nolan Smith, and you're talking about Carter, I mean, those guys are players now. I mean, they can get to the quarterback real quick without bringing a blitz, and that changes things.
Bill, speaking of Jalen Carter, I said this about him prior to the draft and then after the draft. I played with Jerome. And so I look at him and I go, man, hands, feet. He's a little bigger than what Jerome was, like 6'2.5". This kid's like 6'3.5", 6'4". he moves so well. And Bill, he's dominant inside there too. He's got a great bull rush. He uses the corners. I mean, he gets on the edges and does a great job. I mean, what's your take on him, on how you've seen him play? You got a great one there in Chris Jones. Maybe this is the heir apparent to Chris Jones when this guy hangs it up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both of them, as big as they are and as quick as they are and as flexible, using their ability to they're very flexible inside, and to be able to rush the passer in the manner that they do is really impressive. Carter's got some speed too, man. I mean, he's got some wheels for his size. So yeah, I mean, he could be one of the best dominant. Now, it's early in his career. He's got a long way to go. We've seen, defensive tackles. Dan, you played it. It's tough. It's demanding. You've got a window that you got, and it's usually 2 to 3 years when you can be great, and then all the wear and tear finally catches up to you. So his best is yet to come for sure.
Howie Long told me, it's funny, you get smarter, then your body falls apart. You kind of know what to do, but at the end of the day, what you're saying there, hey, you get all this knowledge, and before you know it, you go, I can't do it. I can't get there like that. Right. So that's what Howie was saying. So your guy, Chris Jones, talk about him a little bit. You've played next to, you've been yourself. You've seen some of the absolute great players in the game. How good is Chris Jones when you're talking about his place in history, and we're maybe even in that great Chiefs history?
Yeah, I think legacy is his thing now, Dan. I mean, he got a contract. He got in a contract squabble. I mean, 30 years old, and they're 29. They paid him and gave him a 4-year deal, and at that time, your body's kind of turning the corner, and the numbers usually don't show up anymore. He's showing up. I mean, his last 2 years, when he brings it to rush the passer, and there's nobody's going to stop him, when it's one-on-one. When he wants to get there, he's going to get there. It's impressive to watch. He's really grown as an individual. When he first came in, it's kind of you got to reel him in a little bit. You still got to reel him in. You still got to reel him in a little bit, but he has the ability to take over a game from the inside, and we've seen it.
Two last ones here for you. This may be a dumb question for you, Bill, because obviously everyone sees the one guy and they don't really see the other guy. Over these last 3 years here, you guys going for a three-peat. Who's been more instrumental in that three-peat, Spagnuolo or Reid?
Well, man, that's tough. I'll tell you this. You mentioned two guys, but I'll say overall as a team, there's nobody that's been driven more on this team that drives everybody, including drives Andy, then drives Spags, and drives the entire team. Patrick Mahomes sets the tone every single day at practice. Every single day. Every single day he goes to practice, it's him that sets the tone, and everybody else follows. Now, I know what you're talking about. When you talk about putting packages together on offense and defense and all those things, and both those coaches are really good at what they do. Spags has an uncanny way. I mean, if there's a Hall of Fame for assistant coaches, Spags should be that guy. He's had that MO with him since he became the coordinator of the Giants. He'll take a defense that doesn't look like anything on paper, and by the end of the season, they are world class. And if you follow the trends and his numbers throughout his career, where his defenses start and where they finish in the playoffs, it's just unbelievable the things he does. So I know that's a little bit different than you wanted to go, but that was my touch on those.
How about this one? Here's the last one here. It just seems to me that Andy likes familiarity. Like, I mean, all of his coaching staff guys have been with him someplace, somewhere, some down the line in Philly. I mean, look at Brett Veach. Brett Veach was a special teams guy. He was like a quality control guy. And before you know it, all of a sudden he comes up the ranks, and here he is. He's now a general manager. And, they mention Howie Roseman all the time as being the best general manager in football. I'm like, hang on, the guy in Kansas City's going for his 4th ring. I mean, I don't think you could just dismiss it. He's never talked about, though, with like the Nick Caseros or the Eric DeCostas or those guys. He's kind of the dude in the background. Like, he's not on the sideline doing the hoochie coochie dance like Howie Roseman's doing. This guy's, I'd never see him. I'd never seen him do a presser. I mean, is he the silent guy in this whole thing that makes this thing work?
You want to blow your mind, go back and look at the transactions for the 2024 Kansas City Chiefs. It's freaking unbelievable. He's gone from the time training camp has started until now, the things he has done and gotten. Mind you, okay, we had a different wide receiver core in training camp than we have now. He went out in October and signed Juju Smith-Schuster. We got Hopkins, right?
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, wait a second. Guess who was sitting at home? Guess who was sitting at home? Number 29 was sitting at home.
Oh, that's right, Kareem Hunt.
He was sitting at home on the couch. We didn't have a running back. We had issues. We got people hurt. He's gone out and found
18 months. Hadn't played in 18 months too.
How about this? We went through 3 kickers this year. 2 of them kicked game-winning field goals. One's still on the practice squad, and one guy had to get cut so that Butker could come back. So, I mean, yeah, the things he's put together throughout the course of the year and through the time he's been here has really been remarkable.
I mean, and then you're saying Matter is a field-changing punter. You do all those things in the offseason, and I'm really glad to see him get an opportunity at kicking again because I know the kid personally. Obviously, went to school with my daughter, and that whole thing, I'm glad to see Andy gave him a lifeline there, and he's been absolutely great. But I'll tell you, Bill, this is going to be a big one here, and I'll end it with this. You think KC ends up winning the 3rd in a row? I'm
not going to bet against them. I can tell you that. There's no way. There's nobody that can. I mean, everybody's looked at it and said, there's no way they can. And every time they say that, they find a way to get it done. So I understand what Philly is. It's definitely the better team. There's no doubt. But I'm not going to bet against those two.
How many years have people been saying that? The last 2 years, 49ers had the better roster. Yep. The Eagles had a better roster. Now the Eagles have it again. And here we are.
That's why I'm not saying. That's why I'm saying I'm not betting against them.
The guys down with that have like the casinos and the guys, they don't lose money in Vegas, folks. Just so you know, they got the Chiefs 1.5-point favorites now. I think that's for a reason, no?
Yeah, no doubt, buddy.
Bill, thank you so much. You know what I think of you, brother. You're one of the mentors for me back in the day when you and Pizzulli would help me out a lot, man. You guys really made me want to go and play college football and do the things I did, and I can't thank you enough. And our friendship has gone on for 40 years now. Thank you so much, brother.
You got it, brother. Be good, man. Love talking to you.
You bet. That is Bill Maas. Absolutely. We look forward to seeing this Super Bowl in 12 days. Loved him at Pitt, and he's a PA guy, man. So just so you know here, hit the like button. Appreciate everybody. Don't forget our friends at BetUS. 12 days away to Super Bowl 59. Hey, Sue, another friend? They're all friends. How you doing? You'd be a friend too, Sue, if you put them damn red shoes on. How you doing? Red bottoms. Red bottoms, Sue. All right, our friends at BetUS. Make sure you guys check them out during this time. Great chance for you to be in partnership with the guys that we have been in partnership the entire football season for the YouTube 150. That's right. Sign-up bonuses up to $2K. Your second and third are 125%, up to $2K. And if you're into crypto, that's 200%. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. That's betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sil sent you.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Ignite your